This is a Hope 1032 podcast.
I'm Georgia and welcome to Finding Hope, the podcast that swaps out the depressing news headlines for stories of hope that won't make the front page. Each episode we meet someone who's had a bit of a hard road but has found hope and healing along the way. And hopefully they inspire you to look for the good in your own life as well. Episode 14, Dr Mithila Zaheen. Imagine training for the better part of a decade to become a doctor, just to begin your career at the start of a worldwide pandemic. All rules out the window, literally thrown into the deep end of the profession. That was the reality for Dr Mithila Zaheen, a second-year junior doctor at Blacktown Hospital in Sydney, who started her career mere weeks before the pandemic began in 2020. But as you'll find out, Mithila has not only taken it all in her stride, she has gone above and beyond to reach out to those who need it. Let's meet her.
My name is Mithila. I'm currently a junior doctor working at Blacktown Hospital. I've grown up in Western Sydney and I'm very passionate about volunteer work, and I hope to continue to do this throughout the rest of my career.
What do you like to do in your spare time, Mithila?
In my spare time, I suppose I'm one of those people who've suddenly become interested in cooking during lockdown. I also love watching true crime, and I love to sing and play the ukulele. Nothing serious, but I love to do that with my family.
Don't worry, I won't ask you to perform on air today.
Yeah, please don't.
Can you tell me a little bit about your family?
Yeah, so I have a family of 5. I've got 2 siblings. My parents are actually doctors themselves. My dad is a cardiologist. My mum is a GP, also working in Western Sydney. My brother is a junior doctor working alongside me at Blacktown Hospital, and my sister is in medical school. So, yeah, we're a whole family of doctors, and it's really, really nice to have that support.
So this might be a, I guess, silly question after the answer you've just given, but why did you want to become a doctor?
Well, surprisingly, actually, it wasn't really driven by my parents or my brother. I guess I was drawn to being a doctor out of other professions because, of course, helping other people is something that I'm passionate about, and outside of work, I continue to be passionate about. But in medicine, I really love the problem-solving aspect of it. Being presented with a case, having to dissect it and come to a conclusion and a plan, I find that really intellectually stimulating. It, I guess, goes really well with my desire to dedicate my life to doing something that's going to help other people.
Was there a moment in your childhood or teenage years where you knew that you wanted to become a doctor, or was it kind of just like a gradual realization?
Yeah, I think it was definitely a gradual realization. I wasn't one of those children who wanted to become a doctor since they came out of the womb or anything. But going through high school, being drawn to those science subjects, doing my volunteer work in high school, that all kind of came together in year 11 and 12, and I thought this is the right career path for me. And of course, shadowing other doctors and being inspired by the rapport they had with their patients, that's what drew me to medicine at the end of the day, rather than, I guess it was a coincidence that my parents and my brother had followed the same path.
Now, you said you were working at Blacktown Hospital as a junior doctor. Now, what exactly does a junior doctor involve, and how is it different from, say, just a regular, fully fledged doctor?
Yeah, that's a good question. But I think when people come to the hospital, they're very confused about who they're talking to. The junior doctor is basically somebody who is in training. So I'm in my second year of being a junior doctor, and there's lots of different fields to medicine and to specialisation. So before you go into your specialties, you've got to rotate through everything to try to get a bit of experience, and you'll be the one who is seeing the patient and then reporting to your senior doctors as part of a team, and then you'll come and speak to the patient together. So more than likely, when you've come into the emergency department, you've come across a junior doctor who's come and had a preliminary chat with you before going and discussing with somebody senior. So it's supervised work as you kind of move up the ranks and you're able to take on more responsibility yourself.
In her 2 years as a junior doctor, Mithila has probably experienced more than some doctors do in 2 decades. And her regular job has changed dramatically, especially in the last 6 months.
In the pandemic, I guess the priority becomes dealing with the load of patients that are coming in and having to treat them appropriately. And this number skyrocketed during the pandemic. We had an influx of people who were quite unexpectedly very, very unwell. I'm sure we all remember the cases went from 5 a day to suddenly over 2,000 a day. So during the heart of the pandemic, we had a very, very increased workload, and that did put quite a bit of strain on our health system. In terms of the actual work that we were doing, rather than being assigned to one specific specialty, we had to learn to adapt and be able to, I guess, manage whatever came through the door. So as junior doctors, we were in charge of looking after lots of different patients, not just in respiratory or cardiology, but we had to be a bit more flexible in terms of being able to help whoever we could in the hospital. So it was a big challenge, but also a time that we could upskill and get exposure to lots of different medicine, including COVID medicine, because that's really interesting and something that's really new and changing all the time. So definitely an experience that I'll remember for the rest of my career.
Only a pretty special human can continually find silver linings in such a difficult time. But although Mithila is a shiny, happy person on the outside, there were moments of deep struggle. What has been the hardest part about being a doctor during COVID?
Oh, the hardest part. I think the hardest part for me is during the pandemic, due to the restrictions, patients aren't able to have their families with them in the hospital. And that has been really, really challenging. Seeing my patients go through something that's very difficult for them, even if it's not COVID related. Being in hospital is a really difficult time. It's very challenging being in a room by yourself, people talking medical jargon to you and not understanding what's happening and not being able to have your loved ones by your side. That's really, really hard for me to see, and I try my best always to keep the families updated, involve them in the ward round and have them on the phone at all times. But seeing the mental stress that it takes on our patients and their families is probably what I find most challenging about working during the pandemic.
How has your own mental health been during, especially this second wave of you working, so hard, being under so much pressure? How have you managed to cope?
Yeah, so I think this is something that really needs more awareness, and everybody in the health system has been under immense pressure. And I myself, as a junior doctor, it is a difficult job. And there are times that I think, oh my goodness, I would love to have a break right now. But when, it's a pandemic and there's things that you have to do, it's not always possible. So it has been difficult to cope at times. And I think a lot of junior doctors and a lot of staff in the hospital, allied health staff, nurses, cleaners, admin staff, everybody's been working under the pump, and I'm sure everybody's feeling the strain from everything that's been happening. In terms of coping, I guess the flip side is that since we all spent a lot of time together, we've been able to form some really, really strong connections. And there have been lots of supports available to us. So we've got a wellbeing committee at the hospital who've been going out of their way to try to boost the morale of everybody that's been spending many, many hours there. And there's also other resources such as there is an organisation called Hand in Hand. That's a peer support program for doctors. They can call up and just chat to somebody, and that's been really, really helpful to some of my colleagues, I hear. So it has been difficult to cope at times, but with those supports in place, and I guess trying to be positive throughout it all, we've been able to get through, but I think the brighter, better times are coming up.
Indeed, there are brighter times ahead. As the world slowly gets back to normal, it's also time for our hospitals to return to normal. And Mithila is confident that the health system will be better for having experienced the last 2 years.
I guess on the bright side, if anything like this happens again in the future, we can be assured that the hospital now has a way to manage these situations. And as doctors who have gone through this before, we're going to be able to be flexible and be able to, I guess, embrace the challenge with open arms.
And Mithila herself has learnt a lot from these past 2 years as well.
It's definitely pushed me in many ways. As I've said, I've had to be flexible and be able to adapt to whatever situation has been thrust upon me, especially in terms of my roster. Whatever shifts I've been allocated, whatever hours I've been allocated, I've had to step up to that challenge. So that has definitely pushed me. I definitely can't see myself doing anything else, and that challenge is something that also keeps me going. Learning about COVID, adapting to COVID in the workplace, it has effects on all different kinds of body systems that you wouldn't expect. So that's something that's been quite interesting for the scientific community. And I guess it just goes to show that the breadth of medicine is ever expanding. The treatments that we have available are ever expanding. There are so many interesting studies and research that are coming out, and it's really inspiring to think that technology is advancing and we're going to be able to deliver better healthcare in the future. So I'm excited to be part of this generation where we are continuing to, I guess, get better as a profession.
And while most would be thinking of the next holiday or taking time out for themselves, Mithila continues to look outward to others. She spends her very limited free time volunteering and advocating for those who need it, which saw her recognised this year as a finalist for Blacktown Woman of the Year.
I volunteer at a few places. I'll talk about one of them in particular today, and that's the Waterwell Project. So the Waterwell Project is a company that looks to provide health education for people from refugee and asylum seeker backgrounds. So these could be topics from anything from sun safety to mental health to information about COVID vaccines. And that's something that, despite the pandemic, we've been able to keep going. So we've been able to deliver Zoom education sessions to these groups in need. And I find this really rewarding, really nice way to connect with other doctors and I guess connect with a greater community. I feel like outside of my work in the hospital, it's really important to allow people in the community the ability to advocate for themselves, and having education is the first step towards that. So that's why I'm really passionate about health education, and I'd encourage anybody who's got a little bit of spare time to be able to try to get involved in something like this, because it is very, very rewarding. And I think we have a responsibility as well as health professionals to be able to share the knowledge, especially to groups that might have a little bit of trouble accessing that knowledge.
And if that wasn't enough, Mithila also ventures outside of her medical expertise to help kids with their homework.
Another group that I volunteer with occasionally is the Barbane Aboriginal Corporation, who are a Aboriginal corporation in Mount Druitt, and I help with the homework club there. So just lending a little bit of my time to help young primary school age children in terms of their literacy and numeracy. I find that really rewarding. Nice way for me to de-stress as well. And hanging out with kids and teaching them things is always a little bit of fun. So I do a couple of more things on the side, but I guess those are the two main things that I'm really passionate about. I hope I can keep on doing it.
It's clear that Mithila has a heart for service, and that's something that she takes very seriously in her job. Mithila, you've said in the past that you see your work as a position of privilege. Can you elaborate on what you mean by that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I suppose I'm always a little bit hesitant to talk about all the challenges that doctors are going through, because I understand at the end of the day, I'm in a really privileged position where I am to be able to have a stable job, to be able to serve my community despite everything that's going on. I really, really feel for everybody who's been affected by this, about the lockdown having significantly affected small businesses, people that have been let go from their jobs, people who are really struggling with their mental health, being able to work from home. So when I think about it in the grand scheme of things, I'm still going to work every day. I'm still seeing my colleagues at work every day. And yes, it's challenging and it's scary being faced with the coronavirus. But at the end of the day, I'm in a position where I'm being informed by the scientific community about what's going on. I'm working hard and I'm able to continue to be working hard. And that's not a privilege that everybody gets. And again, that's why I feel a big responsibility to work as hard as I possibly can and try to do my bit for the wider community, not just the medical community.
And Mithila is different now too. She's learned a lot about herself as a doctor and a human.
I think the biggest thing that I've learned about myself is that I need to be in a place where I feel like I'm making a difference. I don't think that's something that I'm going to continue to do for the rest of my career. But I guess I'm the person in the in the team that always says, we need to call this person's family. Just wait, let me go and explain this to that patient one more time. I'm really passionate about making sure that everyone's needs are tended to and making sure my patient or my friend's experiences are always as positive as possible. And at times it can be a little bit of a hindrance. At times I find myself working a little bit later than I should be, or I guess putting in a little bit more effort than maybe other doctors would. But that's something that's really important to me as a person. And although that will be a challenge moving forward as I become more and more busy, that's something that I just want to keep on doing. I want to keep on being that person that goes the extra mile for my patients, my friends, my family, because that's, I guess, when I feel the most satisfied, and that reminds me about why I'm doing this in the first place.
Thank you so much to Dr Mithila Zaheen for sharing her story, but also serving the Western Sydney community so faithfully, both as a doctor and a volunteer. For more information about the Waterwell Project and Barbane Aboriginal Corporation, the information is in the show notes. If you or someone you know has a story of hope to share and you'd like to be interviewed for the podcast, I would love to hear from you. You can leave a comment on the Finding Hope page at hopepodcasts.com.au. If you liked this episode, be sure to subscribe to get future episodes in your feed and tell a friend about it. You can also leave a review on whatever platform you're listening from and tell us what you love about the podcast. I'm Georgia, and thank you for listening to this episode of Finding Hope. I'll leave you with this verse. In everything I did, I showed you that by this kind of hard work, we must help the weak, remembering the words the Lord Jesus himself said, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." Acts 20, verse 35. Catch you next time.
This is a Hope 1032 production. Thanks for listening.